Forestry is traditionally seen as being a male-dominated industry. I don't fit that quota, and there's lots of other people that don't. We went travelling to meet them and talk about their experiences. A lot of my life revolves around forestry. I work as a forester. In my spare time I promote forestry as a career. My Lego sets are all of forestry harvesting machines and logging trucks. So for me, forestry is life, but forestry is also a way to make change happen. So I did GCSEs, went on to do A-levels at the same school. I loved the lessons we had about ecosystems, but sadly biology was all about the human body. You know, fine, but I've got one and I don't need to learn about it. I liked all the stuff about rainforests and heather moorlands and deciduous woodlands in the UK, and I started thinking about, what am I going to do after school? I've got to do that whole adulting thing and thinking about what I'm going to do, and sitting in an office didn't really appeal to me. And then on a random UCAS search, forestry popped up near the bottom. I saw Bangor University were doing it, and I thought, I like Wales, I like trees. This could be a win-win combination. How do we know which coach is which? I hate this game. I think it's important for any profession to have a diverse workforce. If you have people that have all the same mindset, that all come from the same background, that all have the same kind of upbringing, life experiences, you're going to get you're going to get a single outlook on how things should happen. Oh my gosh! Look at that!
I'm head of the Scottish School of Forestry, which is based in Inverness in the Scottish Highlands. We are the only providers of undergraduate higher education in Scotland, and I think we are the only providers of both further education and higher education in forestry in the UK.
I applied by accident actually, because I was applying for another course and just pasted it because I saw it was an outside course, and I somehow got in through the interview and everything, which was really, really good. But it's nothing what I expected. I didn't think we were going to be doing chainsaws or any of the things we were doing. I just got chucked in and I love it.
Because it's a small college, there's not very many people here. You get to know people on a more personal level, so I think that's what I've enjoyed the most out of it. And I'd never thought that I'd learn Latin, but now I can tell you the names of trees in Latin.
I moved to the UK to do 1 year of study and travel a bunch and move back, and then I fell in love with this school, to be honest, and 3 years in a Bachelor of Science with Honours degree later, I now work for a local authority.
Forestry is important because it's a stable way of keeping large areas of Britain covered in forestry, basically. It's great for the wildlife, it's great for climate change goals.
There's so many aspects to the industry, it's unbelievable, and so many different job roles and everything. And it's not just about cutting down a tree, it's about growing that tree before you get there.
Forestry for me is important because it's about educating people. It's about telling people what we do commercially, what we do in a setting for recreation. It's an industry which can be so misconstrued, and I think it's about educating people to make sure that they understand why we do what we do and why it works in equal part with conservation.
It's amazing opportunities, especially nowadays with the government targets, and basically I think it's the best time to be in the forestry.
We still suffer from a perception that it is all check shirts and beards.
The majority of females think you've got to be strong and...
Only big, bulky, strong people can do it.
There is a real lack of understanding.
There are really 101 ways to be a forester.
There's a place in forestry for literally everyone.
I use a chainsaw, people are surprised at that.
Be who you want to be and no one's going to ask you questions about it, which is really nice.
What's your favourite tree, Jo?
What's my favourite tree? Oh Lord, like them all. The one in your garden. used to be in ash. I'm not sure I can say that anymore, it was always ash. Hi, I'm Jo O'Hara. I used to head up Scottish Forestry and was a Forestry Commissioner, and I'm now working for myself doing consultancy. And we're sat here in the offices of the Institute of Chartered Foresters in Edinburgh.
Why forestry? How did you get here?
I got here because I couldn't be a vet. So for as long as I can remember, I always wanted to work outdoors, do something outdoorsy with not too many people around, and was always kind of planning to be a vet, and then exams didn't go the way that I needed them to. And I discovered Scotland and discovered the mountains, and there was a course in agriculture and forestry at Edinburgh Uni, so I thought I'd keep my options open and come up here.
Having not planned forestry as a career, is forestry what you thought it was before you started, or has it turned out to be something completely different?
Well, every time I think I've got my head around it, it changes into something else. So I'm still trying to work out where the edges of it are, because it just seems to be, you can just do so many different things with it.
If you had to rank, what is forestry to you?
Forestry to me is, and I use this all the time, it's the art and science of growing trees for a purpose. It has to be for a purpose, and it's not just the science, there's an art to it as well, and it has to bring the human in, so that's what forestry is to me.
Since you first started in forestry, how has it changed in your eyes?
More women around, thank the Lord. And they make forestry clothing in women-specific fits, which is great.
If you could sum it up in a sentence, what's the best thing you found about working in forestry?
The people. Without a doubt, they're the nicest bunch of professionals you will meet in any sector.
And what are you doing to try and kind of actively challenge what you could say are the misconceptions or the stereotypes surrounding forestry in the UK?
One of the most important things I can do is act as a role model, and I hope I have. You know, just seeing women out there maybe encourage other women to come into forestry.
Do some projects with us, come and see what we do. We love having students, and if you're really interested, you never know, you can get work with us.
Come on stage and announce the winner of the inaugural Changing Attitudes Award, please.
And the winning nominee is Mimolette.
It is actually Mima for avoidance of doubt, but thank you very much, Ian. And
just going in the office,
which is clearly demonstrating.
How many sherbet lemons you can fit in that?
Mind the gap that's taken off the service. Now at Oxenholme Station.
So I've always grown up in Cumbria, just wanted to kind of combine my love of both animals and the woodland life and preserve it really.
There are issues that are huge that we as Britain and the world are facing now, and I think that forestry is a really good way to change that.
I think it's a pretty viable option. Like, it'll give you a pretty steady pay if that's what you're interested in. You get to, again, be out in nature, which is just awesome, period. You're not stuck in an office and you're not sitting on a chair for 8 hours a day, which is just awful.
Not many people go into it, especially people our age. And, you know, without it, not much would get done in the country.
Forestry is the background thing that will always go on. It can't stop, because if it stops, we won't have a lot of the materials we need for day-to-day life.
Not just for all the money making, it's like get people out in the forests.
People use it much more than they think that they actually do.
I think everyone just thinks it's like, oh, all of forestry is bad for the planet.
Biggest misconception is definitely that it's all about taking a chainsaw and cutting a tree down.
There is a lot more to forestry than that, and it ties into so many other industries that to consider it only in a commercial sense is to just disregard a lot of other stuff about it.
I grew up in a city and I hated it, so I wanted to work out in the outdoors.
I get to go and be in nature all the time, which is just great, as I'm getting a degree to just be in nature.
Before I chose to just study a forestry degree, I hadn't heard anything at all to do with it.
None of my teachers or friends had a clue what forestry was when I told them I wanted to do it.
Never really had anybody come around and talk about it to us, and so being able to actually just stand there, have it explained, and then go out and do it, I think is probably one of the best things I think I've ever done.
To get more people into forestry, you've got to make it more popular and get it out to the people.
The reason I want Tree Sparks as a seed and why I've started it is because I think we've got a problem. Currently in the UK there's about 1.3 million people employed in the environment sector, so that's not just forestry, but a lot of that's forestry. Last year there was a 3% decline in enrolment rates into courses like the one you're studying here. You've seen from climate strikes, people are really passionate about looking after the environment, and we're trying to run one of the only curriculum-based environmental careers programs aimed specifically at 15 to 19-year-olds. There's lots of things aimed at primary school children, but there's no one going back and saying, did you know forestry is actually a career?
I went through college and I really enjoyed geography, and I was like, oh well, I'm going to go to uni, and I was looking at different courses and trying to sort of decide what I wanted to do. One day I was kind of like, oh well, I'll just like look at forestry, I'll just like see what it is. And I was looking through the modules, I was like, yeah, that's like what I like doing. I was like, okay, well, I'll just go for it. So I suddenly, quite last minute, ended up deciding to do forestry, and Bangor was just like the perfect place for it.
I started tree planting in northern Canada just as a summer job, and I loved it. I wasn't a great tree planter, but I was really into like talking to the foresters. I had a million questions, and I'd always get in trouble because I wouldn't plant trees. I would just ask the foresters what was going on.
Because I'm looking at the impact of trees on landscape hydrology, it's really current, and so at the moment we know there's flooding, all over the UK, and there's lots of questions around how trees can help out, but actually we know very little. So the work that we're doing now is really right on the cutting edge of trying to address this problem.
It is a degree, but also it applies to the real world so much, and being able to get outdoors and put like the degree into action, it's been really good fun, and it's something that I think like most of the degrees you definitely don't get that.
I was sure that there would obviously be an intersection between forestry and geography, but I wasn't really sure what that looked like, and I'm really interested in natural flood management and that sort of thing, which I didn't know existed until I started this program.
I've just been on a study tour and I've heard about finance, I've heard about timber milling, I've heard about natural flood management, I've heard about lots of different things. I've heard about rewilding. Forestry covers all of these subjects and more.
You look at trees like in our natural landscape, and then you look at all the problems that they're facing and how that doesn't just kill the tree, it kills the whole ecosystem and environment, and that then kills jobs that come through that.
The intersection between communities and trees, especially in developing countries and even here in Bangor, it's just so important to everybody. Whether you realize it or not, people are interacting with trees every day.
When I say to people, oh yeah, I'm studying forestry, the first thing they always say is, well, what do you do? People just don't understand what forestry is.
For women specifically, one of the biggest misconceptions is that you have to sort of downplay your femininity, and I think that that's really tragic.
Go and do something that you find that you're passionate about, and if you don't exactly match up, if you don't think that your background matches, then don't worry about it. What's really important is you have the enthusiasm and the drive and the curiosity, and then all else will follow.
Everyone's got their own niche, something that they're really interested in, and forestry's allowed them to do that and to make it their own. And so I think if you've watched this and you think, oh, forestry looks really cool, brilliant. Don't be disheartened. You need to just keep searching and you'll find what you're looking for. There's loads of information on the Tree Sparks website. There's loads of information on the Institute of Chartered Foresters website, and they're great starting places which are signposted to other places. And it's just a case of Googling, searching and reaching out. We're a really friendly bunch. We're all over social media, and all of us are more than happy to answer any questions you have. And last question that we've asked everyone. Our question to you is, if you were in charge, what would you call this documentary?
Oh God.
Well, that's a really tough question.
Trees are your life. Be part of the process. What's too long?
The Secret Life of Trees.
The future of forestry.